Hello everyone. Isn't this a great passage? It starts with two people totally engrossed in their sorrow. The person that they had chosen to follow, the person they thought would change their lives forever, the person they thought would rescue them from their oppressors, had been killed. They'd put all that hope on him and he was gone. Their hopes were dashed. There was an enormous sense of loss. In fact, I think it was more than that. They had thought he was the Messiah. They'd been on a journey of faith and it had blown up in their faces. Everything they believed had been swept away. Or so they thought. When we look at this situation now, it's hard to understand why they didn't get the bigger picture. Their scripture, our Old Testament, was full of prophecy or predictions that this is exactly how the Messiah's life would end. Isaiah 53, have a read. And there are loads of other examples. And Jesus himself had told them that this is how it would end. These verses in my Bible are headed, Jesus predicts his death the third time. We are going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be betrayed to the chief priests and the teachers of the law. They will condemn him to death and will turn him over to the Gentiles to be mocked and flogged and crucified. On the third day, he will be raised to life. Now, he couldn't really have made it much clearer. So why didn't they get the big picture? They were so engrossed in their loss, so confused that they just couldn't see it. And they were walking away from Jerusalem, away from the disciples and the community of believers. Maybe that was part of their crisis of faith. After all, later on, when they realized that Jesus had resurrected from death, they ran back to the believers. So there was nothing keeping them in Emmaus. So it looks to me at this stage on the journey that they've given up. They're turning their backs. It wasn't as they expected. They've given up. Sometimes we can experience challenges that we don't understand, can't we? I know this will be the case for everyone listening. Sometimes we might be really confused and end up questioning God. A few years ago, I was in my perfect job role and God was really blessing it. I felt absolutely convinced that I'd been called to that role and that God was with me. But I had to leave it because of what's been since diagnosed as chronic fatigue syndrome. Since then, God's continued to lead me, both in work and in a passion and calling for matters of justice. But I still struggle with him giving me things to do, or I think he's giving me things to do. And then I don't have the energy to complete them. I find it confusing, frustrating, really challenging. Why does God call me to do things, equip me to do them, and then I have this illness that stops me? I don't get the big picture. But the point is this: Jesus has been with me throughout. When these two people were engrossed in their sorrow, walking away from Jerusalem, Jesus wasn't just there with them. He actually sought them out. He went to meet them on the road to Emmaus and talked to them about their confusion. I was talking to Stephen about this a couple of days ago, and this is how he termed it. Rock bottom faith is when you're walking away from Jerusalem to Emmaus, Jesus is with you. So when you're struggling, confused, questioning what it's all about, maybe even questioning your faith, Jesus is there. You might not recognize him, but if you're open to him, he will minister to you, and you'll eventually recognize him again. I'd put it one stage better than that. When you're walking away from Jerusalem, Jesus is so faithful to his followers that he will come and find you. And if you listen, he will minister to you and encourage you back. Thanks for listening.